I was walking to the studio this morning, just dodging the usual delivery bots on the sidewalk, and I was scrolling through my feed,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw, I don't know, 3 different headlines about breakthroughs. One in generative video, one in quantum alignment, another in battery density.
All before your morning coffee, I'm sure.
Exactly. All published in the last 4 hours. And I had this really distinct physical sensation. It wasn't excitement,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't, fear. It was vertigo.
Vertigo is absolutely the right word for it. It's that sensation of the ground moving much, much faster than your feet can actually step.
Yes. It feels like we were moving at Mach 10. But if you asked me to point to true north or tell you where we're actually heading, I'd be totally lost.
Right.
We are just going there wherever there is faster than we were yesterday.
The velocity is incredible. The vector, that's another question entirely.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is great to have you with us. Today is February 15th, 2026. And if you are feeling that vertigo, that sense that the texture of reality is, I don't know, shifting too fast to get a grip on, you're definitely not alone.
You are certainly not alone. And actually, that distinction you just made, that difference between speed and direction, between velocity and vector, that is the absolute core of what we need to discuss today.
We are tackling a massive body of work today. We're finally turning our attention to the conclusion of the AI Futures series by Jafar Humayun, specifically episode 30.
It's a big one.
It is. And I have to admit, when I first opened this file, I was expecting the usual tech sector forecast, you the type. Buy this semiconductor stock, or here's why your toaster is going to become sentient and demand voting rights.
The crystal ball stuff, yeah, the industry is just drowning in that kind of thing.
But this feels different. It reads differently.
Mhm.
It has a different weight to it.
It is very different, and I think it is so crucial to set the stage here for you, for everyone listening. Jafar Humayun isn't offering a forecast. He's offering a framework.
A framework.
Yes, he's not trying to tell you what happens next Tuesday. He's trying to show you the physics of how this new force, AI, interacts with complex human systems. He calls it a problem space analysis.
Which sounds a bit academic, I'll admit, but it's actually terrifyingly insightful once you really get into it.
It is.
The mission of this series isn't to alarm anyone, but really to explore how AI unravels the systems we all just take for granted. It's about what happens under conditions of, and I'm quoting here, maximum adoption.
Exactly. It's an audit of our trajectory. And today we are focusing on episode 30, which has a title that sounds deceptively simple. AI optimizes.
AI optimizes. Just 2 words. It sounds harmless. It sounds corporate, even.
Yeah.
We need to optimize our workflow. I need to optimize my morning routine. We love optimization. It's what we do.
We do. It is the secular religion of the 21st century. Faster, cheaper, smoother. That's the goal.
But as I was reading through the source material, I realized Humayun is using that word almost like a warning label.
Mm.
There's a central tension in this piece that I think completely reframes how we should look at the last 5 years of progress. It's the distinction between moving faster along an existing path
Versus choosing a new destination entirely.
Exactly. That's the hook. That's the central conflict here.
It is.
So here is the question we are going to spend the next hour trying to answer.
Mm.
And I really want you, listening right now, to hold this question in your head as we go through the evidence, because it's a heavy one.
It really is.
The question is, if AI can perfect everything we already do we lose the ability to do anything truly new?
That is the wall of the known. And trust me, once you understand the physics of this wall, you will start seeing it everywhere. In your company, in your apps, in the movies coming out of Hollywood, even in government policy.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand the wall, we first have to understand the incredible speed. Section 1 of our material is called The Great Acceleration of the Known.
Right.
We're in 2026. We know the tools are fast. We live it every day.
Yeah.
But how does Humayun actually describe the current technical state? What is happening in the engine room?
The imagery he uses is, it's really evocative. He describes AI moving through human knowledge the way wind cuts through leaves.
Wind through leaves. That's a poetic way to describe data processing.
It is, but it implies a total lack of friction, right? Think about how we used to do engineering or R&D even just 5 or 10 years ago. Let's say you are an automotive engineer and you are building a new suspension system for a car.
Okay, I'm in the lab. I've got my clipboard, maybe a pocket protector.
You've got your pocket protector.
Yeah.
And you have a team of specialists. You have the material science person, the aerodynamics expert, the cost analysis team. You have meetings. Lots of meetings.
So many meetings.
You argue. You run a simulation, which takes 2 days to render on the server farm. You find out the metal you chose is too heavy, which throws off the fuel efficiency calculations.
So you go back to the drawing board.
You go back to the drawing board. You argue some more. The process is defined by friction. Human friction, cognitive friction, computational friction. It's slow.
Right. We'll have that solution for you in Q3. That's the classic line.
Exactly. Now, what Humayun points out is that the current generation of AI completely removes that friction. It doesn't just do the math faster. It resolves the contradictions almost instantly.
So it's not just a better calculator.
Not at all. It's a contradiction resolution engine. It sees the whole system at once. It knows if you make the suspension stronger here, it will add 1.2 kilograms of weight, which will require a 0.4% increase in battery capacity to maintain the same range, which in turn will cost an extra $87 per unit. It does all of that in less than a second.
It sees all the connections.
All at once. This brings us to a specific term the source uses, and I want to spend a minute here because I think this is the key to understanding why this time is so different. The term is TRIZ.
Yes.
TRIZ. TRIZ.
I've heard this term thrown around at, like, engineering cocktail parties.
Yeah.
Usually by people trying to sound smarter than they really are, but I've never truly grasped it. Can you break it down for us? What is TRIZ?
It's actually a fascinating bit of history. It stands for the Theory of Inventive Problem Solving, but the acronym is Russian. It was developed in the Soviet Union by an engineer named Genrich Altshuler, starting way back in the 1940s.
The 1940s. So this isn't some new Silicon Valley buzzword.
Not at all. The theory isn't new, no. Altshuler worked in the Soviet Patent Office, and over years he analyzed something like 40,000 patents. A massive undertaking.
Wow.
And he wasn't looking for specific inventions. He was looking for a pattern. He was asking a fundamental question. Is creativity magic? Is it just a lightning bolt from the gods that strikes a few geniuses? Or is it a process? Is it an algorithm?
And what did he find? Is it magic or an algorithm?
He found that it's, for the most part, an algorithm. He discovered that almost all technical problems, when you boil them down, come down to what he called a technical contradiction.
Okay, give me an example. What does a technical contradiction look like in the real world?
Okay, the classic one he used. Imagine you are designing a tank for the military. You want the armor to be impenetrable. Right?
Well, of course. I don't want to get blown up. Make it thick. Lots of steel.
But if you make the armor thicker to increase its strength, what happens to the tank?
It gets heavier, much heavier. So it moves slower, it guzzles more fuel, it can't cross bridges, it gets stuck in the mud.
Exactly. That is the contradiction. Parameter A, which is strength, fights directly against parameter B, which is weight. Now, a bad engineer, or maybe just a lazy one, compromises.
A happy medium.
They say, okay, let's just do medium armor and medium speed. It's the mediocre medium. But TRIZ says, no, do not compromise.
So what do you do?
TRIZ provides a set of, I think there are 40 inventive principles that are logical ways to break the contradiction to get most things you want.
So it's a cheat code.
It's a cheat code for reality. For example, one principle is called segmentation. So instead of a single thick plate of armor, maybe you use reactive armor tiles.
The kind that explode outwards.
Precisely. They explode outward to deflect an incoming shell, so you don't need all that heavy passive steel. You get the strength without the weight. You've broken the contradiction.
Okay, I follow. It's a logic system for cheating the trade-offs that we think are fundamental.
That's a perfect description. It's a logic system for cheating trade-offs. Now, fast forward to 2026. Humayun argues that AI has become the perfect TRIZ engine.
Because it has read every patent ever filed. And every scientific paper.
Not just read them, it understands the relationships between them. It can simulate them. If you give a modern AI a contradiction, make this battery last longer but weigh less, it doesn't need to sit and brainstorm. It doesn't need a coffee break or an off-site meeting.
It just solves it.
It instantly scans every known chemical configuration in human history, applies the statistical principles of TRIZ that it's learned from a billion examples, and it gives you the mathematically optimal solution pathways.
It solves the puzzle instantly.
Instantly. It moves through that problem space like wine through leaves. It is fast, it is unrelenting, and it is statistically precise.
So, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Please.
That sounds amazing. If I'm running a car company or a pharmaceutical lab or a logistics firm, I want the God mode TRIZ engine. I want to solve contradictions. Why is this a problem? Why is the episode titled AI Optimizes with that, ominous tone and not AI saves the world.
And it should be a celebration, in part, let's be clear. We're going to solve a lot of very hard, very important problems this way. But here is the catch. And it is a subtle one, but it's one that changes the trajectory of civilization. The AI is optimizing inside the boxes.
Inside the boxes.
Think about how these models work. At their core, they are trained on data. What is data? Data is a record of the past. Data is a record of what humans have already done, already thought, already invented.
So it's looking backwards.
It is a phenomenal engine for synthesizing the past. It looks at the sum total of human engineering, history, and science, and it finds the absolute best way to arrange the pieces that are already in that set.
So it creates the most perfect arrangement of the known pieces.
Correct. But it does not question the status quo. It doesn't look at the box itself and say, you know what, why are we even doing this? It doesn't ask if the puzzle itself is worth solving.
So it's the ultimate conformist, a hyper-confident, unstoppable conformist.
That is a great way to put it. It solves the puzzle you give it with superhuman ability, but it never ever asks if it's the right puzzle. And that fundamental limitation is what leads us to this concept of the wall of the known.
Let's talk about this wall, because this feels like where the philosophy meets the road, so to speak.
It is. This is where we have to make a very clear distinction between optimization and concept.
Okay.
Between making the current thing better and inventing a whole new thing.
The source uses some historical analogies that I found really, really helpful for visualization. Sometimes when we talk about paradigm shifts, it all gets a bit abstract. But the car versus the horse example, Jafar really leans into that one.
It's the classic example, but let's really dwell on it for a moment. Let's really get into it. Imagine it is 1880.
Okay.
You are the CEO of a massive transportation conglomerate. The world runs on horses. Your entire infrastructure, your supply chains, your workforce, it's all built around the horse.
Right. I'm wearing a top hat. I've got a monocle. My fortune is in hay futures.
You have a monocle and you have the world's most powerful AI, an 1880s version. And you give this AI a simple prompt. Optimize personal transport. Make it better.
So the AI gets to work. It looks at all the data.
And what is the data in 1880? Yeah. It's biological. It's selective breeding. It's the tensile strength of leather for harnesses. It's the nutritional content of oats. It's the friction of wooden carriage wheels on cobblestones. Oh. The AI would run 1 billion simulations on horse breeding. It would cross-reference every known breed to create an animal with optimal muscle density and stamina.
So give me a super horse. The platonic ideal of a horse.
It would give you a horse with 20% more lung capacity and a metabolism that runs on cheaper grain. It would design a carriage made of ultralight alloys that haven't even been invented yet, but it can predict them from first principles. It would optimize the nutritional intake of the horse down to the microgram. You would have the absolute undisputed physical limit of the horse paradigm.
But I wouldn't have a car.
You would never, ever, not in a million years, get an internal combustion engine.
Why not?
Because an engine isn't a better horse. It is a completely different box. It operates on different principles. It's a controlled explosion inside a metal cylinder.
Right.
To a horse breeder and to an AI trained exclusively on horse and carriage data, that concept is not just foreign, it's insanity. It's illogical. It doesn't fit the pattern of the data at all.
The data says horses pull things. The data doesn't say explosions push pistons.
Precisely. And this is the crux of the wall of the known. The car wasn't just a better horse. The washing machine wasn't just a fancier, more efficient scrub board. The internet wasn't just a faster post office.
I love the internet analogy. If you tasked an optimization AI with improving the post office in, say, 1980,
what would it do?
It would design lighter envelopes. It would create faster mail sorting machines. It would probably map out the most fuel-efficient routes for every mail truck in the country.
You might even get hypersonic pneumatic tubes shooting letters into your living room. It would be an amazing, incredible optimization of the mail paradigm.
But you wouldn't have email. You wouldn't have the web. You wouldn't have instant global communication.
Never. Because the paradigm shift wasn't about moving paper faster. The paradigm shift was questioning whether we needed to move paper at all.
So the argument here is that AI, by its very nature, its very architecture, is stuck building hypersonic pneumatic tubes for every industry.
It is. Because it doesn't feel the weight of the box. It doesn't experience the friction and the frustration of the paradigm in a way that makes it want to break free. It just sees a system to be made more efficient.
It creates a cognitive limit.
That's the term Humayun uses. AI optimizes the map, but it cannot redraw it. It excels at finding the best route from A to B within the given constraints, but it does not question why the roads are where they are, or if A and B are even worth traveling between.
But hang on, don't we see AI coming up with really weird creative stuff all the time? I mean, I've seen AI-generated art that looks like a Dali painting having a fever dream. That feels like redrawing the map.
That's a really important point to clarify. What you're seeing there is it's randomness, not intent. It's a form of sophisticated hallucination, not conceptual rebellion.
What's the difference?
There is a huge difference between mathematically mashing up pixels from a billion images to create something novel and weird, and conceptually realizing that the entire system of physical mail is obsolete and should be replaced by digital packets of information. AI can be weird, but it cannot be subversive. It cannot look at the post office and say this entire concept of moving paper around the planet is fundamentally stupid.
Because stupid is a value judgment. It's a feeling. And the AI just sees a complex logistics problem to solve as efficiently as possible.
Exactly. And this isn't just a fun philosophical debate. This leads us directly to Section 3 of the analysis, the shift to structured creativity, because this is about how we are doing research and development right now in 2026.
Right. Companies, governments, we pump billions, maybe trillions of dollars into R&D every year. And if what you're saying is true, we might be spending a lot of that money to build the world's best and fastest horses.
Well, according to Humayun, we're entering what he calls the age of structured creativity. And in this specific space, AI absolutely dominates.
What does that dominance look like day to day for, say, a scientist or an engineer?
It's about volume and synthesis at a scale that is impossible for the human mind. Think about drug discovery or material science. A human team might be able to test a few dozen hypotheses a month.
If they're lucky.
Right. The AI is simulating thousands of solution pathways simultaneously. It's scanning the entire global patent landscape in real time to find white space.
White space. I like that term. What is it?
It's the gaps in the record, the unexplored territory on the existing map. The AI can say, hey, looking at every paper ever published on polymers and every patent on heat treatments, it looks like nobody has ever combined this specific polymer with this specific cryogenic treatment. Let's simulate the outcome.
It's filling in the blanks of human knowledge at an industrial scale.
That's exactly it. It's merging different domains, combining ideas from chemistry and physics and engineering in ways no single human team could ever manage. And the economic outcome of this must be massive.
It is staggering. We are seeing R&D timelines collapse from years to days, literally. If you want to develop a new aerodynamic profile for a drone wing or a new electrolyte for a solid-state battery, the AI can iterate through 10,000 failures before you even finish your morning coffee. That sounds like a progress explosion. It sounds like a golden age of invention.
It is a progress explosion. On the surface, it will look like the most productive era in human history. We are going to see a flood of new products, better medicines, more efficient engines, you name it. But Humayun warns that this explosion of progress masks a potential disruption stall.
A disruption stall.
Yeah.
That sounds like a complete paradox. How can you have an explosion of progress and a stall in disruption at the very same time?
It goes right back to the horse. We are going to have the best, fastest, strongest, most efficient horses in the history of the world. We will maximize the utility of every existing technology we have.
Okay.
But because the Copilot is doing all the hard work of optimization, we might stop looking for the off-ramp to a completely new highway.
Let's talk about that Copilot dynamic, because that is the buzzword of the decade, isn't it?
It's everywhere.
We're told humans guide and AI assists. It sounds so collaborative, it sounds safe, it sounds comfortable.
It does sound safe. It's a very comforting narrative. It puts the human firmly in the captain's chair. But Section 4 of our deep dive challenges this narrative very aggressively.
How so?
Humayun suggests that the Copilot framing is temporary. It is what he calls a narrative bridge.
A bridge to where? What's on the other side?
A bridge to a world where the human is no longer strictly necessary for the loop to function. Think about what he calls the displacement gradient.
The displacement gradient. That sounds like a polite corporate way of saying, you're fired.
It's a polite way of describing functional displacement. We aren't talking about a sudden, dramatic death of the worker. It's much more subtle. It's like a rising tide.
Okay.
As the AI's confidence level in a task rises, the need for human oversight decreases. As its capabilities expand, codified work just vanishes.
Codified work meaning anything with rules, Anything you could write a manual for.
Anything that can be written down, yes. If there's a clear process, a known set of inputs and desired outputs, the AI can eventually do it better, faster, and cheaper than a human. That's been happening for years.
Right, that's old news.
But the new development is that with this structured creativity, the AI is now absorbing the creative optimization work as well, the work of the engineer, the designer, the strategist.
So if the AI does the grunt work and the AI does the clever optimization work, where do humans go? What is this soft landing that the source talks about?
The soft landing is the idea that the Copilot model eases us out of the loop gradually so it doesn't feel like a shock. First, we go from doing the work to supervising the work.
Okay, I'm a manager now.
Then you go from supervising the work to checking the work. Then from checking the work to just watching the work.
And eventually to just ignoring the work because it works perfectly fine without us.
Exactly. And this forces us to fundamentally redefine the human role in the process of creation. If we aren't the engine and we aren't the navigator doing the complex calculations, what are we?
What's left?
Humayun introduces a fascinating and I think slightly troubling concept. The human as the rare catalyst.
A catalyst, like in a chemical reaction.
Precisely. Think about a chemical reaction. You might have a massive 1,000-gallon vat of chemicals. The catalyst is this tiny, tiny pinch of a substance you throw in. It's not the bulk volume. It doesn't make up the final product. But without that one little pinch,
the reaction either never happens or it happens way too slowly to be useful.
Or it goes in the completely wrong direction. The catalyst is essential, but it is not central. It's on the margins.
So humans retreat to the margins of the creative process. We become the pinch of magic dust.
We do. We are still needed, but not for the heavy lifting, not for the execution. We are needed for the high-level reframing.
What does that mean?
We are needed to be the ones to walk into the room and say, hey, everyone, stop making better horses. Let's spend the afternoon thinking about internal combustion engines. But once that new direction is set, the AI takes over the execution entirely. We're increasingly marginalized in the actual doing of the work.
That feels, I don't know, a little lonely. To just be on the margins. For centuries, humans have defined themselves by their labor, by their ability to execute. I built this house, I wrote this code, I designed this circuit.
It's a massive shift in our collective identity. We are moving from a species of builders to a species of, perhaps, directors. And the really big question is, are we actually any good at being directors?
That is the big question, isn't it? If our only remaining job is to be the catalyst, do we even know how to be catalysts? Because looking around at our society, I'm not sure we do.
That is the systemic risk he identifies. And that leads us directly into the fifth and maybe most concerning section, the scarcity of conceptual rebellion.
Conceptual rebellion. I love that phrase. It sounds almost punk rock.
It is a bit punk rock.
But
it's the fundamental refusal to accept the current reality as the only possible reality. It's the instinct to kick over the table instead of just rearranging the chairs.
And his argument is that we're losing that instinct.
He argues that our systems are actively stamping it out. Look at our schools. Look at our corporate ladders.
We don't exactly teach rebellion in Business 101, do we?
No. We teach compliance. We teach execution. We teach you how to analyze the existing market and hit your quarterly KPIs. We teach you how to optimize the existing process. Our entire educational and corporate system for the last 100 years was built to create excellent factory workers and middle managers, people who are really, really good at following rules and optimizing known systems.
We train for execution. But execution is the very thing that AI now does better than any human alive.
Exactly. We are training an entire generation of humans to compete with AI in the one area where AI is mathematically fundamentally guaranteed to win.
While we neglect the one area where humans still have the upper hand.
The one area reinvention, rebellion, paradigm shifting, where humans are still uniquely superior. This leads to the state he calls faithful efficiency.
Faithful efficiency. That's a chilling term. It sounds like something out of a dystopian novel.
It does, doesn't it? It describes a world where we get faster and faster, more and more accurate answers to inherited questions. We polish the constraints that no one remembers setting. We perfect systems that are already obsolete.
So we get a world where, as the source says, everything works, but nothing matters.
That is the quiet tragedy of it. Imagine a government bureaucracy that is perfectly, flawlessly efficient. Forms are processed in milliseconds. Permits are issued instantly, without error.
Sounds great so far.
But if the bureaucracy itself serves no real purpose, If the laws it enforces are outdated and irrelevant to people's lives, then you have just perfected a waste of time. You are optimizing the gears of a dead paradigm.
It's like perfecting the logistics on the Titanic. You can make sure the room service is amazing, you can make the band play perfectly in time, but the ship is still heading directly for the iceberg.
Or perhaps, and this is an even more subtle and maybe more dangerous image, the ship isn't hitting an iceberg at all.
What's it doing?
It's just sailing in perfect, efficient, smooth circles forever. Because the AI is steering the course that we gave it 50 years ago, and no one on board remembers how to grab the wheel and shout, "Turn left."
That is a haunting image. Sailing in circles perfectly efficiently.
Yeah.
So, what do we do? How do we respond to this? This brings us to the final section of our outline, the responsibility of the outsider.
This is what Humayun calls the quiet responsibility.
Why quiet?
Because it doesn't look like flashy invention. It's not about building a big new machine. It's an internal posture. It's a mental discipline. It's about cultivating a certain kind of mindset.
Okay.
The requirement is this. If we stop asking why, AI will serve us faithfully, efficiently, emptily. It will create faster and faster progress toward nowhere in particular.
So, the human mandate, our last job, is disruption.
Disruption still belongs to humans, but, and this is the absolute key, it requires what Jafar calls the operational parity of imagination.
Operational parity of imagination. That's a mouthful. Let's break that down.
It means that our ability to imagine a different future has to be at least as strong and as robust as the AI's ability to execute on the present.
So our imagination has to be as powerful as its computation.
Exactly. Think about it. The AI can build and render the old world, the known world, with perfect fidelity. It can show you 1,000,000 variations of a horse in 8K resolution. If we want to build a new world, our imagination of that new world has to be just as vivid, just as detailed, just as compelling.
We have to be able to see the internal combustion engine in our mind's eye as clearly as the AI can see the anatomy of a horse.
That's it. We have to remember how to step outside the box and ask if the box should have been built at all.
We have to protect our right to be wrong.
Yes.
The right to be inefficient, the right to try something that all the data says shouldn't work.
Because the data only knows the past. The data says a horse is the best way to travel. The data says a big hotel chain is the best way to house travelers until someone imagines Airbnb. The data says you need a massive studio to make a movie until someone imagines TikTok. True disruption often looks like a statistical error to an AI. It's an outlier.
That is a really powerful takeaway. The very thing that makes us human, our weirdness, our irrationality, our refusal to always follow the rules, our ability to dream up things that make no logical sense, that is actually our economic safeguard.
It is our only safeguard. It's our only unique value proposition in this new age. If we try to out-optimize the machine, we will lose every time. If we try to out-imagine the machine, we at least stand a chance.
This has been heavy, but in a good way. It reframes the whole conversation. It's not about the robots taking over with laser guns. It's about us potentially, quietly, forgetting who we are and what we're for.
It is about what he calls institutional hollowing. We don't collapse from some big external impact. We just become empty shells of perfect efficiency, unless we actively choose to be the catalysts, unless we actively, deliberately choose to be the friction in the system.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into AI optimizes, let's just look back at the journey we've taken in the last hour. We went from the great acceleration, that feeling of wind cutting through leaves, to the very real risk of paradigm stagnation.
We saw that speed is absolutely not the same as direction, and that a perfect high-resolution map of the wrong territory isn't just unhelpful, it can be dangerous.
We realized that while the Copilot framing feels nice and comforting, it's really a transition period to a world where our primary role must be to become these rare catalysts.
The ones who ask why, when the entire system, human and machine, is screaming how at the top of its lungs.
So, here's the thought we want to leave you with today. It's a question to carry with you into your next meeting, your next project, or just your next conversation with your own AI assistant.
In a world where we can optimize every gear to perfection, will we still have the courage to ask if the machine itself is heading in the right direction?
That is the question. And frankly, the answer to that question will define the next decade of human history.
It absolutely will. There's no doubt about it.
Now, if you thought this was intense, just wait. We are setting up for the final installment of the AI Futures series.
Yes, episode 31, the finale. It's the culmination of this entire line of thought.
Next up is AI Futures episode 31, the final disruption.
And the premise for that one is, it's chilling, but it's essential. Civilizations do not fall from impact. They hollow from within until the structure can no longer hold.
We are going to explore what happens when a structure, a system, a society is perfected to the point where it no longer requires the people it was originally built to serve. It's the ultimate outcome of everything we've discussed today.
It's going to be a fascinating, if somewhat sobering, conversation, the logical endpoint of faithful efficiency.
I can't wait. Until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for thinking with us.
It's been a real pleasure.
Stay tuned, stay curious, stay systemic. We'll see you in the next deep dive.